Hello and welcome. My name is Al Barrows, and this is UFO Disclosure, the podcast that's meant to show an average person's reaction to all the UFO, UAP news from everywhere and anywhere. Today, I'd like to share real UFO footage from Pennsylvania, USA, that I found on Space Wind and UFO Section 51. I'd like to start with the cigar-shaped UFO that was spotted floating in the sky in Pennsylvania in 2023. It happened on the morning of April the 6th, 2023, just after 9 a.m. A resident of Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, captured a brief but startling clip of a long cigar-shaped object gliding across the sky. The shaky handheld footage was posted to Reddit and then uploaded to YouTube. It shows a slim, elongated silhouette moving sideways in a steady, deliberate line while the person recording the video spoke in disbelief and curiosity. And before anyone could stop it, the video was shared and discussed across multiple social platforms. At first glance, it's hard to identify the cigar UFO. It has an elongated, fuselage-like shape, smooth and uniform, with no discernible windows, doors, or markings. It moved steadily without the wobble or micro adjustments you'd expect from a drone, and also without the forward-facing orientation typical of airplanes. This made many to further suspect that this was definitely not a man-made aircraft. When you hear the recorder speaking, it was clear that this video was unscripted and genuine.
I'm fine. Look at the sky.
What's that? What's that?
There is no narration or script, and it was just an immediate human reaction to something very strange that helped the clip gain traction among UFO enthusiasts and local onlookers. Of course, skeptics had their own explanations for what the cigar-shaped UFO could be. There were explanations like an unusual balloon, experimental military platform, photographic aircraft, or even an aircraft seen at an odd angle. But there was no publicly available evidence that this UFO was human-made. It had no sound or visible propulsion. Not to mention, the object was rigid and long like a cigar. Local authorities and federal agencies didn't issue a public statement explaining this clip, which was strange, and the video was spreading all over social media. But their silence has only fueled further speculation, and some users suggest this might be an extraterrestrial visitor. In the same year, another UFO sighting occurred in Pennsylvania. In Shermansdale, Pennsylvania, a man reported a very strange and unsettling UFO sighting near a gas station. He claimed to have seen a craft hovering roughly 200 feet above the road with its outline illuminated by 8 vertical lights. The lights were described in a mix of white, yellow, and a hint of green. When the Shermansdale report was investigated, it was revealed that the UFO was very different from an ordinary aircraft. There were no visible wings or obvious propulsion systems or sound from the strange craft itself. Also, the 8 vertical lights on the UFO didn't align well with how traditional aircraft or drones are typically lit, and that has raised a lot of questions about what exactly was in the sky that night. And in 2020, another strange triangular-shaped craft was spotted in Pennsylvania. In the spring of 2020, in Brookville, Pennsylvania, a witness gazing westward reported seeing a formation of lights unlike anything familiar. They described the lights as star-like, yet moving much faster than ordinary stars. And it was arranged in a rough triangular configuration with both orange and white hues. This strange aerial pattern hovered high in the sky, beyond the reach of their phone camera's capability. Although the witness tried to film it, they said their device couldn't pick up enough detail. And after watching the lights for about 15 minutes, they literally faded away. Local observers and investigators have speculated about what these lights might have been. One possible explanation focuses on the proximity of Interstate 80 and skeptics say that car headlights could, under certain atmospheric conditions, reflect off cloud cover and appear as floating lights in the sky. Another theory points to the nearby airport, as some say that these lights might have been caused by a conventional aircraft that was maneuvering at higher altitudes than the witness assumed, and this was what caused the glowing formation. But the behavior of these strange lights makes it hard to explain this UFO with human explanations. The speed and lack of a clear physical vehicle has caused more to wonder whether this was more than a trick of reflection or light refraction. The witness couldn't film with clarity, and eventually the lights disappeared, leaving the incident completely unresolved. Traditional UFOs like this are not unique in the UFO lore. Reports of a dark triangular craft with pulsating or colored lights have been circulating for decades, especially connected to black triangle sightings. These objects are usually spotted in silence, hovering, and with strange light configurations. In Brookville's case, the triangles of light may or may not represent a solid craft. They could be reflections, formation flying, or something more exotic. Be that as it may, Pennsylvania remains a hot spot for UFO sightings. In late 2024, Yardley, Pennsylvania, specifically the lower Mayfield Township area, became the focus of renewed UFO speculation when a local woman reported witnessing an odd throbbing orange orb hovering just below the cloud layer. The orb hung motionless in the sky, mere hundreds of feet above the ground, close to the softball fields opposite the local police station. What made the sighting especially unsettling was how abruptly the light moved. The woman said that in a matter of seconds, the orb shifted roughly 1,000 feet away from its initial position. And despite its proximity, she reported hearing no sound. There was no hum, whirring, or anything else to suggest that it was a conventional aircraft or a drone. This wasn't Yardley's first brush with strange UFOs. The area has had a lot of UFO sightings over the years, and so the locals aren't exactly surprised. Local UFO investigators and enthusiasts like the researcher Fanny Holloway have also spoken about the strange event. Holloway expressed skepticism that the light was a simple drone, and it's easy to believe him. After all, the behavior of the orb was silent, rapidly relocating and pulsating with color. It didn't align with typical unmanned aircraft. The authorities have also been less forthcoming about this strange UFO sighting, despite all the overwhelming evidence. The Yardley Borough Police claimed that it's a drone sighting, and they didn't give any other explanation for the orb. The mystery remains open. When you consider the lack of noise, proximity of the object at one point, and the sudden disappearance, the Yardley orb it's just a sign that Pennsylvania has strong UFO activity. Pennsylvania has in fact had a lot of UFO activity dating back to the 1960s. The Kecksburg incident of December 9th, 1965 remains one of the most enduring and controversial UFO cases in American history. On that evening, a brilliant fireball streaked across the sky over several U.S. states and parts of Canada, with eyewitnesses reporting sonic booms, shockwaves, and falling debris. Locals in the rural area around Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, then revealed that something had crashed in the woods, noting that there was blue smoke, a loud thump, and vibrations. First responders, state police, and volunteer firefighters arrived on the scene, followed closely by U.S. Army and Air Force personnel. Authorities closed off the impact site, preventing civilians from approaching. Witnesses later said they saw a large object shaped like an acorn or bell and about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, partially buried in the ground. Some described a band around its base covered in hieroglyphic-like symbols. Some witnesses also revealed something shocking about what happened after the UFO crash. Those secretly watching found out that a flatbed truck under guard by military personnel carried away the covered object late into the night. These testimonies fueled widespread belief that this was probably a government cover-up. And despite the fact that this was spotted, the military continued to maintain that the search turned up absolutely nothing. Years later, NASA entered the picture. In 2005, the agency stated that experts had examined metallic fragments linked to the incident and concluded that they were probably from a Soviet satellite, specifically the Cosmos 96 probe. But it seemed like this was a cover-up because many records from the investigation went missing sometime in the 1980s. Skeptics and UFO researchers are still unsatisfied with the official versions. And interest in UFOs only deepened when 2 years later, a supposed UFO left a lingering smoke over Pennsylvania. In April 1967, in the remote area around Queens Run, along Pennsylvania's Bucktail Scenic Byway, or Route 120, several witnesses reported a striking UFO event involving glowing lights that defied conventional explanation. The witnesses saw green lights with brilliant white centers moving about in the night sky in dynamic motion, appearing to float or drift rather than follow a fixed course. What made the sighting truly perplexing was what happened after the light vanished. The witnesses said the lights left behind puffs of smoke that lingered in the sky for more than an hour, refusing to dissipate like ordinary vapor or clouds. At the time, the phenomenon raised as many questions as it did speculation. The witnesses were not alone. This was not a one-person hallucination, but actually a multi-witness event, making the UFO sighting more credible. But Pennsylvania is not the only place in the United States that's dealing with UFO sightings. Here's a clip from North Carolina, which is approximately 8 hours away from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I got it. I don't know what that is. Dude, y'all see that crap?
Yeah, I see it. Oh my God! Look! Hey!
That was a chilling UFO sighting in North Carolina where witnesses spotted something strange. It was definitely not a plane, and it looked more like a burning spacecraft racing across the sky. The observations began when people first thought they were seeing a plane in distress, possibly falling out of control. But as they watched, the shape and behavior didn't match any conventional aircraft. Instead, the object was engulfed in flames or a fiery glow, flying low and fast and dangerously close to the ground. There was palpable concern in the crowd. This was no ordinary aerial mishap. Instead, the burning glow, the speed, and the low altitude all suggested it could be minutes from crashing. And yet, shockingly, the crash never came. The object didn't tumble or lose altitude. Instead, after a tense moment, it shot across the sky with sudden acceleration. Then, almost just as strangely as it appeared, it vanished without making a sound. There was no explanation, wreckage, or a sign that it had left anything behind. Eyewitnesses were left baffled. There wasn't any identifiable plane structures like wings, fuselage, tail, and it had a fiery appearance. So it was clear that this was something stranger than a simple aircraft malfunction. Many were deeply unsettled because it seemed like they had just seen something entirely unknown. These sightings have only served to increase interest in UFOs not only in the United States, but also around the world. And one of the more common sightings reported are what's known as orbs. The U.S. has seen many UFO sightings over the years, and the most common one is the glowing orbs that keep on being spotted in different states. Glowing orb UFO sightings are widely reported and visually striking. Across the U.S. and even globally, witnesses have described many mysterious luminous spheres that often move in ways that defy simple explanation. One well-known modern report comes from Indiana, USA, where on October the 7th, 2024, several glowing yellow-orange orbs were seen flickering in the night sky near Graham Joint Air Reserve Base. Observers described a fleet of about 6 silent spheres that hovered briefly before vanishing suddenly. But some skeptics don't believe that these UFOs are real, and instead argue that this could be related to ball lightning, which is a rare atmospheric plasma phenomenon. So all those sightings were captured where anybody could see them, and they were captured by ordinary people. And they're being captured and seen not only in the United States, but all over the world. I'm not sure what they are, and some of them might be CGI. But in my opinion, I think some of them are real, and they're definitely not man-made. My name is Al Barrows. This has been UFO Disclosure. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.